What's up YouTube? My name is Mistic and welcome to Mistic Reacts. Today I'm watching a video by, trust me bro, scary dream meanings you should never ignore. Now I have some pretty scary dreams, but I don't know if there's like actual meanings behind them. I personally don't subscribe to the idea that dreams have meanings. So let's see, like the whole if you're dreaming about your crush, then they like you kind of thing. That's, obviously not how that works, but let's see if there's any actual meanings.
The secret meaning behind every dream.
Okay.
Picture this. You tuck yourself into bed, getting cozy, ready for a well-deserved night's sleep. When almost instantly after closing your eyes and falling asleep, you find yourself having the most odd dream of all time. This dream is so vivid in fact that you wake up, remembering almost everything about this dream that you were just having. At first, this dream seems random and devoid of any meaning, but you decided to take a peek to see if it could possibly mean anything. And after taking a quick look on Google, you realize that you are not the first person to have this dream, and that there are—
I have not tried to Google my dreams in so long, but I do sometimes write them down in like a notepad on my phone, and just scrolling through my old ones are insane. Maybe I'll make a video about that one day because they are unhinged.
Are many interpretations on what it could possibly mean. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you've had a similar experience, which is why I wanted to describe all of the most common dream themes in one video. Dreams are so cool, but I think it's important to understand why we even dream in the first place. And to put it as briefly as possible, when we go to bed and rest our conscious minds, our subconscious minds are going to work to process all of the information from that day, trying to make sense of the world and everything that we experience. Just imagine if every time you went outside and did something, you wrote down everything you saw and everything you did on a sticky note. By the end of the day, you would have a lot of sticky notes. And those sticky notes would probably need to be organized. That is what your subconscious mind is doing when you are sleeping. But what's interesting about that is that your subconscious mind does not speak the same language as you. Your conscious mind understands language and logic, although your subconscious mind understands the world through a different means: feelings, images, and metaphors. And that alone is a big reason why your dreams seem so random. I think social worker and sleep expert Suzanne Bergman described dreams best when she said,
I don't think my dreams are random. They're pretty that they stay to a certain category.
Universal language, creating often elaborate images out of emotional concepts.
Okay.
But with that being said, although there is no solid scientific connection between certain dreams and specific emotional states, there is definitely implied meanings behind a handful of very common dreams. And in this video, I'm gonna describe every single one of them. Let's begin. Dreaming of falling. I would bet money that almost everybody watching—
Have I had one of those dreams? If I have, it's been a long time. Maybe like since childhood. Because most of my dreams involve running from something, not falling. So,
this video has had a similar experience to this. You go to bed, you lay down, you close your eyes, and you begin to feel yourself falling asleep. But just before you could fall fully asleep, your body jolts and you are woken up instantly. Now, I mentioned this one first because it is the most common dream of all time. And it's interesting because this jolt that actually wakes you up out of your dream isn't necessarily always associated with falling, although in most cases it is. And whether this
I usually wake up when I die in my dreams, or when I'm about to, because in most scenarios I'm usually like having a nightmare about someone like attacking me, trying to kill me very gruesomely. That's usually how my nightmare goes. Or it's something very not safe for YouTube explicitly. So it's kind of two opposites.
Was accompanied by a dream or not, it still is the same thing. It is called a hyptic jerk, and it is actually an arousal of our primal instinct that allows us to quickly get up out of sleep and defend ourselves in a dangerous situation. Another place you actually see this response a lot is when people prank people that are sleeping. You'll notice that these sleeping people that are being pranked will quickly get up and assume some sort of offensive position, and it will typically take time for their mind to catch up to what their body's already doing. That is a major difference between the subconscious and conscious mind. But going back to the falling part of this dream, why do people dream about falling specifically? Just think about it. When you are falling, you are in likely the most vulnerable—
I don't know if this came to my head, but I remember I had a dream where I had a dream that I just woke up and there was like a bee in my ear or something, and I kept banging my head in the dream against the pillow to crush it. And then I woke up terrified there was a beat in my ear. Thankfully there was not, but I don't know why I did that.
You are simply at the whim of gravity, waiting for whatever the outcome of this fall may be.
Yeah, I've never had one.
So for that reason,
falling
falling is
dream.
a pretty good metaphor for feeling like you're losing control in your life, or at least fearful or anxious of losing that control. And this control could be anything. You could feel like you're losing control to bad habits.
Never
you could feel like you're losing control of who you truly are. You could feel like you're losing control of your life because your school schedule is so packed or your job is too overbearing. There are a plethora of life situations that could cause you to feel these feelings, but in most cases, when people experience a dream of falling, the most common interpretation of this is that the person experiencing that dream is feeling anxiety, fear, and most prominently, a sense of losing control, being chased. Falling was definitely the most commonly reported dream, but I can only imagine.
Time for me. Because usually I'm running away from like a killer. That's usually how it goes. In some
being chased was a close second, because for me personally, this is a dream that I've had throughout my entire life. And I would imagine you've had a similar dream as well. And the deeper or secret meaning behind this dream is actually pretty self-explanatory. And the commonly accepted meaning is that this dream is a feeling of avoidance. In the dream that you experienced, you could have been chased by a murderer, a monster, a killer, an animal, a bear, whatever it may be. But no matter what was chasing you or in what scenario, the usual suspect for this chasing dream to even come about is because of an inner conflict that you either subconsciously or maybe even consciously know that you're avoiding. And even with this small bit of context, things may start to make a bit more sense. Like for example, if you go to bed tonight and you just dream that you're being chased by a bear, you're going to wake up thinking you had a nightmare and it was random. But if you understand the context that typically in dreams where you're being chased, you are reminding yourself that there is an internal conflict that you have not resolved, then you can kind of put back the pieces and realize that, oh yeah, I wasn't really dreaming about a bear. My mind was just symbolizing the fact that I am totally avoiding dealing with X, Y, or Z in my life. And once
I feel like my dreams are kind of more just a way for my brain to test out scenarios, so if they ever happen in real life, I'm prepared for them. Because like they're very realistic scenarios most of the time. It's usually people that I know. Other times they're just like super. It's very rarely that they're not reasoned. They're not within logic. But those ones are kind of the scariest.
Again, there's a million things that you could be avoiding that you know you have to face. But because your subconscious mind is extremely creative and doesn't speak English, you end up getting a murderer or a bear chasing you in your sleep. Teeth falling out. We're starting to get a bit more niche here, but this is actually another dream that
I've only had this dream once, and it was like a prediction dream, because I can't remember how long after the dream, because it was a very specific dream. I was sitting in my living room at the time, eating something in the dream, and my tooth fell out. And then, like, in the real world, not long after, I was sitting in the living room, and my tooth fell out. So, I have, premonition abilities, or my tooth would just loose.
I've personally experienced. In my specific situation, I was just dreaming that I was in the bathroom and I looked in the mirror. And as I looked in the mirror, my teeth were extremely loose and I was actually able to touch them and they were just falling out. Obviously, this dream was rather disturbing and it grossed me out. And when I woke up, I remembered it vividly and was pretty unsettled by it. So unsettled that it caused me to actually Google what this could possibly mean. And it was that entire experience that later inspired this exact video. But with that being said, what could teeth falling out mean in a dream? Does it mean that you subconsciously know you need to brush your teeth more? And while in most cases that isn't the case, I would say that's definitely not impossible either. Like I said, this is all interpretation. And for example, if you did know that you had to brush your teeth and you weren't, and you dreamt about it, that could very well be the reason why. But in most cases, why people dream of their teeth falling out is much deeper and much more severe. In short, dreams of losing teeth is most often linked to stress, fear, and uncertainty. At this point, a common theme, but it goes a bit deeper. In some beliefs, teeth symbolize stability and security. So if your mind is creating dreams where this symbol of security and stability is just falling out of your mouth, that could be a representation of how you feel in your waking life. Do you have a pain that you are just simply not addressing, or are you simply stressed out? Any of these situations could potentially cause you to...
My back tooth is half chipped chipped off is probably something I'm avoiding.
A dream
I don't
about
have
losing
insurance.
your teeth. And if you've personally ever experienced a similar sort of dream, think about what was going on in your life during the time, and if there was anything that you could pinpoint that could have potentially caused this dream. Losing your hair.
Premonitions.
Similar to the situations we discussed previously with losing your teeth, a dream about
Have
losing
I
your hair can
ever
typically be
had-
caused by similar
I
experiences.
don't think I've ever had a dream about hair falling out. I've had dreams about like my hair being longer, shorter, dyed, maybe cutting my hair off, but not falling out, I don't think.
Although there's a bit of a twist, because where teeth in some places represent stability and security, hair represents beauty and youth. And in that context, a dream about losing your hair is typically associated with a feeling of stress or vulnerability around someone's self-esteem, whether it be the fear of aging or an insecurity of your personal looks, potentially triggered by some sort of bullying. And while this niche interpretation seems logical, there's also more general associations around having a hair loss dream, specifically feeling like you're losing control of some aspect of your life or feeling, once again, vulnerable. Already, we're starting to see a common theme among different dreams, but I think it's important to reiterate these things and also highlight the differences and nuances. Drowning. Drowning may be one of the most unsettling of these.
I think I maybe had 1 or 2 drowning dreams, but most of my like ocean or water related ones, like sharks or like snakes or like sea monsters or people, are usually in the water and not just me drowning.
Common dreams we're going to be discussing in this video, because I think the situation for many, myself included, is a true worst possible fear, which just makes the lifelike situation in your dream feel even more unsettling. Regardless,
I'm not really
if you
that
have
scared of
experienced this
drowning.
dream, what could it possibly mean? And similar to the
I'm
first
a good
dream we
swimmer.
discussed of falling, drowning has a very similar interpretation, specifically feeling either overwhelmed or, once again, out of control in your life. But it does go a bit deeper than that, because drowning is typically associated with the feeling of being smothered. And while there is an endless amount of things that could make you feel smothered in life, these dreams
Maybe
are
your
typically
pillow?
triggered by either a situation that is so overbearing, emotions that are at this point too strong to care anymore, or responsibilities that you have that you feel like are literally drowning you. Drowning, like falling, is another situation where you are completely out of control. It's you versus Mother Nature. And while you may not be
Or
falling, waiting
your
to hit the
pillow
ground,
gets
with
on your
drowning,
face,
I think
maybe.
it might almost be worse, because you are consistently fighting against the waves in the water, just trying to stay afloat, knowing that eventually you're going under. If you've personally experienced a drowning dream, try to reflect. Was this around a time where you felt overwhelmed by something in your life?
I don't
Potentially
know,
just
I
had too much
forget
on your
stuff
plate with school,
easily.
sports, life, family, friends. Maybe you were going through something really tough and the emotions were just too much to bear at times. Like I mentioned, all of these dreams are different interpretations, and they could also be triggered by a number of life situations. But most typically, drowning is interpreted as feeling overwhelmed and out of control. Fighting. Fighting dreams are very common, but also
Is it considered a fighting dream if it's like fighting for my life? I mean, I've definitely probably attacked someone in my dream, or like ran away. Maybe.
interestingly, very intense. Now, that sounds a bit odd to say on this list where most of these dreams are intense, but I think out of all of them, fighting is some of the most intense because it literally activates the neurochemicals that would activate your fight, flight, or freeze response. But that being said, if you have this dream about fighting, what does it mean? And there's actually, obviously, a lot of interpretations, but there's a few primary ones depending on who you're fighting. If you have a dream about physically fighting somebody that you know in your daily life, let's say this is a friend of yours, that dream would typically be symbolic that you have some sort of unsettled trauma or dispute or negative emotions that have not been fully sorted out. And this dream could be your subconscious mind trying to remind you that
I think mine are
you need to do something
usually
about this
random
situation.
faces.
And I think this interpretation is somewhat obvious. I think this is one of those dreams that you don't necessarily need to Google. Like if you had a dream about fighting your friend,
I only really have like dreams about my friends or romantic interests if it's a happy dream. If it's a negative one, they usually aren't the villain in it. Usually there's like a side character.
knew that this friend owed you money,
If it's a
you
bad
could be able to
dream.
put 2 and 2 together. Although, if you had this dream and you didn't think you had any issue with your friend, but then you sat and thought about it and realized that, oh, actually, last time I saw this guy, he said something that rubbed me the wrong way, but I kind of let it slide. maybe this might be a good opportunity to bring that situation up to him and be like, hey, that thing, you know, whatever the
I
case
had
may
a
be. Now, here's
dream
where things
about
get interesting.
attacking
If this
you.
person in your dream that you are fighting is not somebody that you know or recognize, or maybe doesn't even have a face at all, they're like a character that you haven't unlocked yet, what this typically
like a blurry
symbolizes is that you
face
have some internal conflict that
can't
you are
remember.
trying deeply to resolve. And this could go for a lot of things. Perhaps you're at a crossroads in your life and you don't know which way to go. This dream could be representing your indecision. Or perhaps you're doing something that you know you shouldn't be doing, or you're not doing what you should be doing. This dream, once again, could interpret your better self trying to bring you out of a slump, but you're fighting a version of yourself that is still falling into bad habits. And when you get into dream lore, you kind of learn about something known as the shadow self, which is essentially a subconscious version of you, but that may be kind of beyond the scope of this video. Regardless, fighting dreams almost always symbolize an internal conflict, whether that be an internal conflict against yourself,
I've been lucid
or even
before.
how you feel about another person.
And
depending on who you're fighting, that could be a major clue into what kind of situation you are subconsciously dealing with. Being naked in public. Okay, this one isn't just a dream.
I didn't have these until like, I think I had my first, the only one, like maybe like in the last year I had one. But like the main focus wasn't me being naked. It was just kind of something that led to something else. Like I don't remember the details of it. So
it's the dream. Totally joking, but I'm glad that this one isn't as tense as the other ones, although the meaning is still just as serious. I think this is another one of those dreams that isn't necessarily extremely difficult to try to decode on a surface level, but
also I'm genuinely,
I think
generally
just
just
we kind
not
of all
very
understand that a
clothed
dream of
in
being naked
general.
in a public place can be symbolic for feeling vulnerable. But I think even taking it a step deeper than that, this imagery can be symbolic of insecurities that you're feeling, a need for acceptance, or potentially a fear of judgment or criticism. If you're at a place in your life where you feel like you are under immense pressure and being judged and criticized at every move, you may be dreaming of being naked, because for how much you're being judged in your day-to-day life, you might as well just be naked, because everybody looks at you so weird and sees you as alien, or at least that may be how your subconscious mind, understands that criticism. When you get criticized or called out, you feel exposed. You feel literally vulnerable and alone, and the same sort of situation exists when you are naked in public. You're the only person with no clothes on and everybody's looking at you. This dream is funny to think about, but it's definitely an uncomfortable dream to have, and it's once again rooted in some pretty serious negative emotions. Being pregnant. Now, this is specifically if you're having a dream about being pregnant while not being pregnant. I think if you're pregnant and have a dream about being pregnant, you're just having a dream. I don't think there's necessarily a special meaning there, but interestingly, it's said that this dream isn't necessarily limited to just women, and that men could also have this dream of being pregnant. And if you're a man who has had this dream, drop it in the comments. But this is also the first dream that we've discussed that doesn't have a negative connection to it, actually, which is a nice change of pace. And dreams of being pregnant typically symbolize new beginnings, personal growth, or the anticipation of a significant life change. And if you look at it that way, it kind of makes sense why your subconscious mind would illustrate these things as pregnancy. If you think about pregnancy, it's a similar thing. It's a new beginning. There is literally personal growth, and there is a huge life change coming. And I guess with all of these dreams, or potentially any dream you could have, if you understand the context that a dream is just your subconscious mind that communicates through images and feelings trying to understand the world, then you can almost reverse engineer these things to see what's really going on. And it's that exact reverse engineering process that's given us all of these kind of interpretations, because like I mentioned, they're interpretations. They're not scientifically proven. They're just commonly accepted representations. And so far, I think a lot of them make sense. And for some of them, I've experienced exactly the situation and the exact feelings that they've described. So if you're a woman who's had a dream about being pregnant, or if you're a man who's had a dream about being pregnant, understand that this isn't necessarily a bad thing. And it doesn't just mean that you're going to be pregnant in the near future. I mean, potentially it could mean that depending on what you believe or how you interpret it, but in most cases, it's just a simple representation of personal change, personal growth, and new beginnings, either ongoing or in the near future. Death. Taking almost a 180 from dreams of being pregnant.
Most of my dreams revolve around this. I usually get attacked or about to be attacked, and run, hide, fight, and then I get killed. So that's usually how my dreams go.
Pregnant, we have dreams of dying. Now, interestingly, dreams of dying have typically very similar associations to dreams of being pregnant, which is why I put them side by side. Now, on the surface, a dream of yourself personally dying could be one of the scariest and most upsetting dreams you can have. And in some cases, and in some cultures, this dream is taken literally, and it means that, oh, this is a sign that I'm gonna die soon.
I usually just go, okay, let me just clear my head for a second so I don't continue the dream. Okay, let's go back to sleep.
Which, I mean, depending on what you believe, how it goes for me. Maybe it could be the case, but in most instances, that isn't the case at all, and that's typically not what your subconscious is trying to tell you. Similar to how your subconscious mind illustrates a new beginning as a pregnancy, your brain could also take the same input and illustrate death. But this isn't necessarily the death of you, this could be the death of a chapter in your life. Whether it be you start a new relationship, you end a relationship, you start a new job, you start thinking a different way, you start working out, whatever major life change is happening in your life, there is a death. A death
but what if you have that for years?
Even the death of something in your life, like a job or a schooling system or whatever the case may be. So it's interesting to think, if you've ever had a dream of yourself personally dying, is there anything that was going on at the time that was a big pivotal moment for you that ended up being ideally positive?
I don't know why.
Extremely scary, and you might have even considered it to be a nightmare. But perhaps your mind wasn't necessarily representing your death, but it was representing the death of something in your life. Now, that kind of goes out the window if your dream was, you know, you getting murdered or hit by a car. Like, I feel like depending on how gruesome your death was, potentially there's more going on there, and it kind of leads into
gruesome.
Other things we discussed with, you know, with
I could actually feel the scars after my dream, so very, very gruesome. It's also the first time I ever, like, actually felt pain in a dream. It was, like, a very violent one. It was the first time I ever actually felt pain. And that one, like, threw me off.
Control and feeling stressed out and overwhelmed. I would say if you had a gruesome death, you're probably not like, yeah, this is a new beginning. This is why I dreamt of getting hit by an 18-wheeler. Like, I don't think that's the connection, but yeah. It's typically believed that symbolically, a dream of death can be the metaphor of a chapter of your life closing, allowing a new chapter to begin, meeting a lost loved one. If you've ever lost a loved one, whether...
Well, okay, if they mean death, no, I don't. I think I've had maybe one dream after someone died, but like they weren't a big part in it. So I just don't really care when people die. But when, like, 2 years ago, well, until 2 years ago, I think like for 3 years, my main dreams were about this person that I dated very briefly, and all my dreams were basically me trying to reconnect or me meeting them or something. And then 2 years ago, I actually hung out with them again. It didn't go good, unfortunately, but the dreams did temporarily stop. But like more recently, I've had them maybe like once a month. I'll dream about them.
Be a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, whoever it may be, that you've probably had a dream about them at some point after their passing. I haven't had those dreams. And even wanted to dream about them just to have more communication with them. Now, with this specific, very sensitive issue, there is a lot of interpretations and beliefs surrounding it. And while that obviously goes for all of these entries, I want to make that explicitly clear for this one as well. For people who have had a dream of meeting a loved one once again after their passing, it's typically believed that this dream is symbolic of an individual reflecting on the relationship that they had with this lost individual, or potentially even them grieving this lost individual and desiring a deep connection with them once again. And like I mentioned, it makes sense if you think about it. If you've lost a loved one and, you know, that is just gone now, your subconscious mind is going to have to do a lot of work to try to comprehend what that even means. Really? That person may be interjected into your dream as a result. And some interpretations
wasn't that hard for me.
A lost loved one in your dream, that is that lost loved one specifically trying to contact you, or I guess successfully contacting you to let you know that they have made it to their side and that they are with you and whatever they may say to you in the dream, if they say anything at all.
If mine are trying that, they're doing a shit job.
So this one is interesting because there's a lot of ways you could take it. It could be a representation of you trying to deal with the loss of this person and trying to understand your new relationship with them after them being gone, or it could even be them communicating with you from the other side. But whatever you may believe, it's interesting to understand these dreams and try to ponder them when they happen. But I do think this entry is likely the most self-explanatory on the list. You're dreaming about a lost loved one because you're thinking about a lost loved one. But regardless, it's a pretty straightforward dream. Although there's still a ton to unpack around it. Snakes. Before we get to the last common dream on this list, I just want to say that there is...
Have I had that many snake dreams? I think I've only had like maybe a few. Because like I generally enjoy snakes. So it's not really like a terrifying thing for me.
Is a ton more of crazy and common dreams I want to discuss. These. But time is limited for every video. So if you want a part 2 with more common dreams, either leave a like or leave a comment below letting me know that you want that video, and I'll be more than happy to make it. Oh, and if you're enjoying this video and watch us often, feel free to subscribe. It turns out a good majority of you guys aren't even subscribed, but if you enjoyed the video, you might as well. It's free, and I hear it gives you good dreams. But back to snakes. Snakes are one of the most interesting dreams I've researched for this video. Specifically because I could not get one solid read. Like I mentioned, every dream I discussed is open to interpretation, and there are plenty of interpretations, but typically there is an underlying common denominator. When it comes to snakes, literally everything was just straight up contradictory. Like even if you just Google, what does it mean if you dream about snakes? It will literally say in the same sentence, healing and hidden threats. But with that being said, what are some of the more common understandings of seeing snakes in dreams? And it really depends on the context you see this snake in. Now, if you see this snake in a neutral context and it's just kind of in an outdoor environment and you see it go by and it's not a negative experience, that could actually be a positive symbol, typically meaning transformation and healing, because snakes are known for shedding their skin, starting anew. That could be, once again, another symbol of rebirth, transformation, healing. That's pretty positive. But if you're having a dream where you're being chased by a snake, that kind of goes back to our...
It might just mean you're afraid of snakes.
Initial dream of being chased. You feel like you are running away or being followed by something that you are avoiding that is at this point becoming overwhelming and needs to be dealt with. Now, a bit more nuanced, if you see a snake that's in your personal home or in a safe space where a snake should not be, and you are personally scared of this snake in this environment, then this may be a sign that in your life you are dealing with either hidden dangers or hidden threats from people in your life. You might feel like someone might not have your best interest in mind, whether it be a friend, a coworker, a peer, whoever it may be, or this snake might even represent something that you're doing to yourself. Once again, referring to that shadow work or that shadow version of yourself. So it's just interesting because snakes could represent a plethora of things. It really just kind of comes down to the context of which you see it. A snake in nature could represent rebirth. A snake chasing you could represent you avoiding an issue in your life. A snake in your house could represent you feeling unsafe or threatened. And a snake in your boot might mean that you're in Toy Story. But what do you guys think? If you guys have experienced any of these dreams, please let me know in the comments below. And what do you guys think of these interpretations? If you have any additional interpretations, please leave them in the comments. I know that almost every religion and culture has their own interpretations and versions of what these dreams could mean, and I'd love to hear them more in the comments. What I'm saying here is not fact or even personal opinion. It's just more or less a common understanding of what some people interpret these dreams to mean. But this is very much so an open conversation and not a closed book. And if you are waiting for a part 2, let me know a common dream that you want to know the meaning of in the comments below. And with that, if you enjoyed this video and want more, check out the video on screen right now.
Let me know your weirdest dream down below. I want to know what the meaning of having a dream about being a centaur means. I had a dream where I had a horse. I had a dream where I had a body of a horse and in the upper half of a human. Let me know what that means. And yeah, hopefully there's a part 2 at some point. And until next time, bye bye, sleep well. Wah.